Whatever opinions we hold, and undoubtedly they're profound and insightful and correct, our focus can't be on them, and our focus can't be on what's going on over here or over there in our nation or some other nation. Our focus as kingdom people 24/7 has got to be on whoever is right in front of us. The kingdom is always here, and it's always now. And our calling isn't to have all the right opinions about things. Our calling is to be Jesus. And the power of the Spirit to whoever we are in front of, to bring the kingdom in the midst of people, right here, right now, because the kingdom is always about right here and right now. So to make it even a little more concrete, if you're still confused. Whatever your opinions might be, and I'm sure that they're correct, about what Caesar should do about, for example, civil unions. From a kingdom perspective, that's not the important question, because everyone's got an opinion. There's nothing uniquely kingdom about that. The fact that yours happens to be right, of course, doesn't make it kingdom. The important question is this. Not what do you think Caesar should do about civil unions, but what's God calling you to do? The important kingdom question is, are we being the kingdom to our gay neighbors? Are we loving them and serving them and sacrificing for them and non-judgmentally and humbly befriending them? Are we being the kingdom in the midst of our gay neighbors? That's the important kingdom question. Whatever opinions you might have about what Caesar should do about the poor, and I'm sure yours are correct, from a kingdom perspective, that's not the important question. Everyone's got an opinion. The important question from a kingdom perspective is, are we being Jesus to the poor in our midst? Are we being Christ-like, loving, serving, sacrificing for, befriending the poor in our cities and in our neighborhoods? Are we being the kingdom in the midst of the poor? Whatever your opinions might be, and I'm sure they're correct about what Caesar should do to address abortion. From a kingdom perspective, that's not the all-important question. From a kingdom perspective, the question is, are we being Jesus to women who have unwanted pregnancies and to their unborn children? Are we loving them and sacrificing for them and serving them to make it feasible for them to go full term? Because everyone can have an opinion, and everyone can raise their voice, and everyone can say you shouldn't or you should or whatever. But will there be a people who will say, I'll change my life to make a difference? Are we being kingdom to the women with unwanted pregnancies in our midst? And whatever your opinions are about, and I'm sure they're correct, about Caesar and wars, what wars, if any, America should or shouldn't be engaged in, from a kingdom perspective, that's not the important question. Everyone's got an opinion. From a kingdom perspective, the only important question is are we being Jesus to our enemies? Are we refusing to be in war? Are we loving and serving and sacrificing for and praying for and blessing the person who talks bad about you at the office, the person who's always undermining you, the person who betrays you, the person who's out to get you, the person who wants your job, the person who's trying to do you in, the person who's trying to destroy your reputation? Are you retaliating against them, at least in your mind and heart, or are you in fact being Jesus towards them and seeking for ways of reconciliation and forgiving over and over and over again? And with regard to our national enemies, are we following the example of Jesus, who on the cross prayed for us when we were enemies, saying, Father, forgive them? Are we replicating that in our life? Are we refusing to hate? Are we blessing and praying for our enemies, including Osama bin Laden, as Scripture commands us to do? That goes against all the indoctrination of our American culture, but that's why it's uniquely beautiful kingdom stuff. The question is not what are your opinions about Caesar and laws and policies and nations, but right here, right now, in the midst of all around us, are we being the kingdom? The kingdom is not over here or over there. It's not in this observable law or this observable nation or this observable candidate or this observable war. It's always right here. It's always right now. It's always in the midst of people. And so instead of focusing on our, of course, superior and more insightful opinions about what Caesar should do, our focus 24/7 has got to be on what we're called to do in the midst of people. Are we being Christ-like? Are we being the kingdom to our husbands and wives and children and family and friends? So easy to have all these righteous opinions, and I've seen it done, so right, so very, very right, of course, and righteous, of course, and yet you treat your wife like she was a house pet and neglect the kids like they were less important than your opinions or your job or whatever. Are we being Christ-like, loving, serving, sacrificing for those who are closest to us? Are we being kingdom to the elderly lady down the block who no one visits, and she could really use a ride to the grocery store once in a while? Are we noticing her? Are we being kingdom to the forgotten murderers and pedophiles locked up in prison? Are we being kingdom to the mentally challenged guy in the group home or the unwanted child in the foster care system who could really use a mother or a father or both? Someone who would just love them. Are we being kingdom to the brother or sister in our family that maybe has been estranged, perhaps for good reasons, for 3 years? No one talks to them. They don't get invited to Thanksgiving or Christmas anymore. But will you do the kingdom thing and express Christ-like love towards them and seek for reconciliation? Are we being kingdom to the Muslim lady in the grocery store that no one else notices because they're too busy, but she's got 3 kids and is having a heck of a hard time getting those groceries out to her car? That's kingdom stuff, to notice that and to serve her in that moment. The kingdom is always right here and right now. Are we being kingdom? Are we being Jesus to that really, really unfriendly neighbor whose dog just died because that dog was her only friend, and right now she could use someone to comfort her and to be there, despite how nasty she has been towards you? Are we being kingdom and Christ-like towards her? The kingdom is always right here and right now. Or how about the obscene and obnoxious person who cut in front of you in line in the airport? Or the gang kids in the inner city school who could really use someone to help them read and volunteer once a week to help in the inner city schools? Are we being kingdom to them? Are we being Jesus to the depressed person who could just use an ear to talk to, and the sick person who could really